In 2028, the Summer Olympics are coming to the United States, as they'll be held in Los Angeles. To say that this is a big deal for the USA would be putting it lightly, as millions of Americans are going to be watching the games on this network right here, NBC, and the family of networks as well. Millions upon millions of Americans already watch the Olympics when the hours are inconvenient, and when the primetime coverage is nothing but tape-delayed events. Now, with the Olympics in a time zone that's convenient, and in their home country, forget about it. The whole country is going to be watching come July. And one of the biggest events for the Summer Olympics, without a doubt, will be men's basketball. The USA loves basketball, and is dominant at that sport, having won the gold medal at each of the previous 5 Summer Olympics. Now, I want you to imagine that the USA's first basketball game is a primetime event on NBC. This game is being hyped up like crazy, as it's a chance for everyone to see some of the best players in the world competing on the same stage. The ball is tipped, the USA wins the tip at these games, and then nothing. The screen just cuts to black. NBC just stops working. No one can watch the game on this network right here. And I'm not talking about a slight technical difficulty where you miss one possession or one of the cameras goes out, so you have to watch the game on a different camera. I mean that for a good chunk of the game, you're staring at a black screen, just waiting for the game to come back on. There would be outrage. The first big event of these Olympics, and you blow it that badly, heads would roll. Well, I bring that up because something similar to this hypothetical from the 2028 Olympics actually happened in 2004 at these games right here, the Summer Olympics in Athens, and a bizarre controversy that you might not know about. I'd be here all day if I listed all of the controversies from the 2004 Olympics, which were, in many ways, one of the worst run games in recent memory. From the insane amount of white elephants in vacant venues after the games that were just abandoned and not repurposed or utilized in any way, to major budget issues leading to the swimming events being held outdoors because they didn't have the money or the time to put a roof over the venue, to atrocious security at the marathon, to a whole slew of other things that are well documented at this point. But here's a bizarre controversy that you might not know about that deserves a deep dive 2 decades later. Because when it came to Greece, this set the tone for the games in a really bad way. Because this is the story behind the bizarre broadcasting controversy at the 2004 Summer Olympics that you've never heard of before. Make sure you hit that like button down below, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we post on the channel. We post every single day on here about the weird and the wacky history of sports, and I would really appreciate your support as we try and grow this community even more. So with that in mind, thanks for liking and subscribing, and let's talk about the Olympic broadcast that was most definitely not gold medal worthy. Before I talk about the actual incident in question, we need some context to understand this game right here, as in the main event in our story. It's August 11, 2004, and we find ourselves at what is, quite literally, the very first event of these Summer Olympics, as in the men's soccer tournament, Greece is taking on South Korea. For those who are unfamiliar with the Olympics, even though the opening ceremony takes place on a Friday and took place here on August 13th, certain events start a few days before the official opening, so that it's possible to squeeze everything in from both a venue standpoint and a competition standpoint. If the soccer tournament didn't start until August 14th, and the winning team would have to play 6 matches in 14 days, that would not be healthy on the players whatsoever. Because of this, the tournament starts a bit earlier than the opening ceremony, and Greece and South Korea were unofficially going to kick off the games. And to say that there was a ton of hype surrounding this game would be putting it lightly for 2 reasons. Number 1, it's the first event of the Olympics, and it's the host nation playing the national sport. But number 2, soccer fever is at an all-time high in Greece, as earlier that summer, Greece pulled off one of the most stunning upsets in the history of the sport by shocking everyone to win the European Championships. Yes, the Olympic roster is a different roster than the senior team that won the tournament, as the Olympic team on the men's side consists primarily of players under the age of 23. But after Greece overcame 150-1 odds to win their first European Championship ever, and now, off that high, they were playing in their first Olympics since 1952, this was, for lack of a better term, the summer of soccer for Greece. When you combine all of these elements, from the host nation in the first event and in their first Olympic soccer tournament over half a century, to the passion that Greece already has for the sport, only amplified by the main team pulling off one of the greatest upsets in international history, yeah, there was a lot riding on this game. The game itself ended in a 2-2 draw, with Greece salvaging a point out of the game after falling behind 2-0 before scoring 2 goals in a 5-minute stretch toward the end of the second half. This would be Greece's only point of the tournament, as they would fail to make it out of the group stage as the host nation by losing their ensuing 2 games to Mali and Mexico. However, unless they were inside the stadium, I'm not sure any Greek could properly tell you how their team played. And the reason why? Of all the times for a network signal to go out, this might be the worst possible time. Because now, we need to talk about this station right here. Today known as ERT1, but back then, ET1. ET1 was given the rights to broadcast the Olympics, which already was a bit of a head-scratching move, seeing as, at the time, the channel was on the smaller side of things compared to other channels, not just from a staffing and an infrastructure standpoint, but from a viewership standpoint, as the channel isn't even in the top 5 most viewed stations in the country. It would almost be like if the IOC decided that the Summer Olympics in the USA wouldn't be televised by NBC or ABC and ESPN and CBS, but rather, the rights to televise the games would go to the CW. You'd be like, wait a second, how the heck are they going to pull this off? ET1's infrastructure and staff was called into question prior to the games, but obviously, everyone there assured the public and the IOC that everything would be fine and would go off without a hitch. Spoiler alert, it was not fine. It was the furthest thing from fine. Because during the literal first 30 minutes of the Olympics, at the start of the first half, from 8:30 p.m. to 9 o'clock, there was no picture. The screen was completely black. If you wanted to watch the Olympics that night, I hope you liked the alternative programming of watching nothing but a black screen instead. Want to know why I didn't show too many highlights of the game, other than the fact that the IOC is notoriously bad when it comes to copyright and fair use? Good picture quality doesn't exist because a lot of pictures don't exist from this game because ET1 couldn't show the start of the contest. The good news was that by 9 o'clock, the picture was back for ET1. The bad news was that for the next half hour of the match, the audio was off, so you were watching the game on mute. No picture for the first 30 minutes, no sound for the next 30 minutes. And oh yeah, a soccer game only takes 90 minutes to play. So if you were watching this on your television set in Greece, only 33% of the broadcast actually worked. 2 out of 3 ain't bad when it comes to meatloaf. But when it comes to the percentage of a broadcast that doesn't work, especially when it's the very first event of the freaking Olympics, that's a major problem, especially when the international feed for other nations wasn't impacted by this at all. It was just the host nation. It was just an issue with ET1. And you can bet your bottom dollar, or I guess in this case, your bottom euro, that after the mix-up during this game right here, which again, I wish I had more highlights of, but I think it's pretty obvious at this point why I don't, that heads were going to roll. The very first thing of the Olympics, and you fail and anger a good portion of the country. Nice going. Of course, you had your usual protests that flooded the switchboard from angry and irate viewers and citizens. But it was so bad, and I truly mean it, so bad, that you even had government officials commenting on this. As Theodore Rousopoulos, a spokesman for the government, said on the issues at ET1, heads will roll with maximum severity. Seriously. Imagine if a broadcasting issue happened during a big sporting event in the United States, and a top government official came out and publicly said that they want that person's head on a stake, because that's how embarrassing this moment was to our nation. That's how bad this was. It was so bad that one of the largest newspapers in Greece ran a front page that was nothing but a black page with an ET1 logo in the corner, which I think speaks for itself. And things got so bad that after this outrage that caused viewers to be unable to properly watch the opening match of the Greek soccer team at the Olympics, where the first 30 minutes to no picture and the ensuing 30 minutes to no sound, The general director for ET1, Johnny Calamaris, resigned on the eve of the opening ceremony of the Olympics, probably in fear for his safety, seeing how bad the reaction was and how unsweepable under the rug this issue was, especially seeing as the freaking government commented on it. ET1 was now without its general director, as Calamaris, along with another lower-level director, was out. Said a spokesman for the company, General Director Johnny Calamaris handed in his resignation today because of the unfortunate incident last night that led to the loss of signal. There were all sorts of rumors about what caused the incident. Some speculated that it was a short circuit. Some speculated that the central transmission system just completely collapsed. Some speculated that it had to do with the fact that ET1 was understaffed and had a lot of people go on vacation, though this was later denied, as the Olympics was an all-hands-on-deck event. Either way, whatever the case, the end result was all the same. Viewers saw a black screen and missed the opening match of the Olympics. Great start to the games, people. Great start. For the record, it wasn't the last time that ET1 had a technical issue during the 2004 Olympics. And somehow, ET1 still got the rights to broadcast the 2008 Summer Olympics 4 years later, which is kind of amazing seeing as, the government literally wanted heads to roll with maximum severity for this issue. Their words, not mine. The 2004 Olympics were somewhat of a disaster in more ways than one. And more than 2 decades later, this is one of those controversies that seems to have been forgotten about, at least internationally. Seeing as I'm not sure how many people would have even known about this if they weren't living in Greece at the time, since the international feed wasn't impacted by this at all. It's like how the West Coast during the Haiti game between the New York Jets and the Oakland Raiders back in 1968 had no idea what the uproar was about, because they saw the ending to the game just fine. But if you were in Greece, you were getting ready for the Olympics to start after years and years of waiting, and you were getting ready to watch your national team play its national sport. And you were treated to this? Yeah, you were not having a good time. Because in 2004, the only thing worse than Greece's performance defensively during the men's soccer tournament at the Olympics was ET1's coverage of it. Be sure to like and subscribe if you have not done so already, as it helps the channel out a lot, and check out my other channels, JG8 for the history of college football, JG7 for the history of baseball, and JG9 News, where we talk about all things happening in the NFL. Join me every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we'll play live NFL trivia for cash prizes. And make sure to join me live, as we're on stream just about every single day. And thanks to all our Patreon members and our YouTube members for helping out the channel. See how you become a member and show your support financially in the description down below.